I call the August 6, 2025 meeting of the Civil Rights Board to order at 5:00 p.m. Director Hewitt Smith, will you please call the roll?
With pleasure, because I would like to also say that we are a full board officially. All right, good evening, everyone. Chairperson Faison.
Present.
Vice Chair Lukman.
Present.
Director Burpee.
Present.
Director Moore Doyle.
Present.
Director Calderon.
Present.
Director Sipling.
Present.
Director DeBoer.
Present.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Hewitt Smith. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adopt today's agenda for our meeting. Is there a motion?
Motion to adopt.
Second. It has been moved by Director Burpee, second by Chair Lukman, that we adopt the agenda as presented. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Agenda is adopted. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adopt the minutes of the June 4th, 2025 Civil Rights Board meeting.
So moved with correction. I received my name is misspelled.
Thank you. We'll make sure that's corrected. Is there a second? Second? Okay. And it was moved by Director Moore Doyle and second by Vice Chair Lukman. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? The minutes of June 4th, 2025 Civil Rights Board meeting have been adopted. At this time, we will have public announcements and communications. Are there any public announcements or communication?
We do not have any announcements opposed to what I stated earlier, that we appreciate the welcoming of Director Sipling and Director DeBoer to the Civil Rights Board.
Thank you. So I will echo that. Welcome, Director Sipling. Welcome, Director DeBoer. Appreciate you putting in the applications. It has been 2 years, April of this year, that I've been on the board, and this is the first time I've sat with a complete board. So, thank you. Our first item up for discussion will be updates on the ordinance edits. I'll start it off. We have not worked on any edits regarding any changes to the ordinance because we do see that the wording of the ordinance does work. It definitely can be enforced. So we did have Mayor Anderson meet with us our past meeting for the subcommittee ordinance review. And so we're going to continue to meet with the city commission as well to just make sure that we can get on the same page on how it is that we can have enforcement of this ordinance and making sure that it is enforced. So with that being said, what I will lift up as well is we are also seeking a new city manager. The enforcement of this is vital to the city manager's position. So I will also say, reach out to congregations, reach out to friends, reach out to community, because they are having community buy-in on decisions. And so we need to make sure that we are actually participating in the search for the city manager. Go ahead, Vice Chair Lookman.
One of the topics that I wanted to bring to the board's attention that we have been discussing in the subcommittee is related to creating process maps for the involvement of what would be another subcommittee involved in the inception of when the complaints are received with the city, that the subcommittee is also involved in reviewing those complaints and at the start of the complaint process. So that has been a topic of discussion, and as the ordinance exists right now, there is not involvement with the board until it actually needs to be heard by the board. The complaint needs to be heard or discussed in front of the board. So we're trying to establish a process or a process map to hopefully involve a subcommittee from this board in the inception of the complaint as well. In our subcommittee meeting, not necessarily in the last meeting, but in previous meetings, we've discussed the change of changing the name of the board because we've found that there's been some discretion, if you will, in what exactly we can hear and impose violations for, which might, not necessarily actually be civil right complaints. It's more so related to other types of complaints because as we have discussed in this board, and the frustration from the board is that all of the complaints that we receive, if they're associated with a civil rights complaint or a fair housing complaint, those get placed into those particular departments or associations that handle those type of complaints. So that's been a small topic of our subcommittee meetings, but I do want to just bring some light to that discussion in subcommittee as well.
And I will lift up, we thought about even human rights board. So that would be some of the discussion we would have as a civil rights board, whether or not the name change would take place.
So more often than not in the research that I've completed in other municipalities, it is often a board such as ours or an ordinance such as ours that we oversee is called a human rights board. So I think that's more of the name of municipal oversight boards associated with what we do here.
Any discussion? I'm asking because I see like a question mark. Okay. Okay, if there is no further discussion, we will move on to our next order of discussion, which is appointees to the subcommittees. So I will say, without us having a full board, we have not been able to maximize our potential sitting on the boards. We currently have the Ordinance Review Board, as well as we've started up the educational subcommittee. And so we've had people who have been interested, and I know you have, Director Burpee, been interested as being part of one of the subcommittees. We had talked about you also participating on the educational side. So what I will ask you is, since you have been here, what board would you like to participate in more? The ordinance review or the educational subcommittee?
Kind of putting me on the spot here a little bit. I Truly, I'm interested in both, so wherever you think I would be the best fit and be able to, you know, be of most purpose is fine with me. So, I mean, as a teacher, I do like the educational idea. Just saying.
So, well, I'm sorry. The reason why I asked is because I actually appoint, and so I would be making an appointment to a subcommittee today. So that's why I asked, where I'm giving you the first choice as far as
appreciate
which
that.
board.
No.
Okay.
Are those the only subcommittees? There's the Education Ordinance Review, and then when we didn't have a full board with the Nomination Committee. Is that the current plan, or are we discussing potentially any other subcommittees, like an outreach committee?
These are the only two subcommittees right at this moment. I would consider the education subcommittee to be an outreach committee, so that the purpose of that educational subcommittee is to take the ordinance as it is written and create a plan of educating the community, the community members that have to abide by this and are impacted with it, and then executing that plan. So that would be what I would consider the purpose of the educational subcommittee.
Okay, thank you.
As it relates to me, I currently sit on the ordinance review subcommittee as well as the educational subcommittee. With a full board, I would be more than willing to step off of the ordinance review subcommittee. I feel like my presence in that subcommittee has been, it might no longer be necessary for me to be on it. I think I've, gone through the process of that. So I'm happy, Kathy, to step down from the ordinance review subcommittee if you could so take me off of it.
Yes, that wouldn't be a problem. But I also think now that we have a full board, we have the ability to just add another person. And as well as the nomination committee. However, with the nomination committee, I'm hoping we won't have to utilize them anytime soon in the future.
So let's establish how many board members that you need to appoint to each, or have the ability to appoint to each subcommittee.
We have the ability to appoint 3 as long as we're not meeting quorum.
Okay, so would that mean that on the educational subcommittee right now is Sandra and I? Yeah. So we can appoint 1 additional, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we can appoint 1 additional to education. And on the ordinance review, with me dropping off, that means that you're does Commissioner
We would be
Hoffman?
able to
Okay.
appoint 2.
Okay.
Okay. Well, at this time, what I will do is actually appoint Director Burpee to the Educational Committee. So now we have 3 that are on the Educational Committee. We can have conversation around the Ordinance Review Subcommittee, if anyone is interested in being a part of that board, or I'm sorry, that subcommittee. And as I said too, we also have the Nomination Subcommittee.
I would be willing to be on the Ordinance Review Subcommittee.
Thank you. Anyone else? Because you said you are dropping from that one? Or
I mean, I don't have to, but I would like to give someone else the opportunity to partake in subcommittee.
I would be happy to volunteer myself for that.
Okay, and so I will say, we do meet every other week, every other Monday, and we will be meeting this following Monday coming up. And that is currently at 11 a.m. And it could be virtual or hybrid. Law will send out the invitation, usually that day, that morning, or it could be late that weekend or something. So at this time, I will also appoint Director Sipling and Director DeBoer to the Ordinance Review Subcommittee. So I think that is going to be it around our discussions of the subcommittees, unless anyone has any other further discussion. So now I will go into the next order of discussion, and I'll allow you or Director Calderon to speak on the educational subcommittee.
Wonderful, thank you. So we've placed in the agenda today 3 suggested times for the first educational subcommittee meeting. And so while we don't need to make a decision tonight on what that date is, I wanted to at least get those suggestions on the agenda. The other piece of the educational subcommittee is community member participation. So I just want to reach out to the community and express that, you know, we would like to work with other community members outside of this board in order to get cast the furthest net that we can throughout the city for this effort.
This is Director Calderon. I just want to mention that I've also had some conversation with Chair Faison about the involvement of our dear friends at Isaac who have been part of this process all along, and I believe that they're already doing some of that work, so jumping on board with what they're doing seems like a good idea to me.
Thank you, Director Calderon and Vice Chair Lukman.
So to wrap that agenda item up, I will follow up with our educational subcommittee, and we will get a date on the calendar here very soon to start.
And I will touch bases with Isaac to make sure who Isaac has for contact, who will be part of the subcommittee representing, and that way they can actually get in contact and maybe try to set up an email or something with everyone on to get a date solidified.
This is Director Hewitt-Smith. I do want to make sure, as you guys make these plans, please most definitely rope Law, and she'll most definitely rope me into these conversations so we can make sure that we're all on one accord and nothing is missed.
And I just want to echo that. If there's anything as far as not being able to make a meeting, communications, please keep Director Hewitt-Smith and Law in communication in regards to that. You can also contact me if you have any questions or if you're not going to make it, because like I said, we're sitting here with a full board. We don't want it to where we understand emergencies happen or something happens, vacations around this time, everything. But just the communication is key and an important part of it, as well as making sure checking emails, responding to those, because sometimes Law may need us to communicate back with her. That being said, we will move on to our next order of business, which is the monthly meeting frequency discussion. We currently meet every other month, and we went back for a while, or went to meeting every month for a while. Once we were working on the rewrites for the ordinance, we went back waiting on responses and wait time, and so our meetings was short or they weren't happening, to where we ended up just going back to every other month, just so everyone didn't have to come out just to come out. We do have quite a bit of work ahead of us, especially now moving along with the educational committee. And so we were waiting till we had a full board, in which we do now, to have discussion around whether or not we wanted to go back to meeting every month. I will open the floor for discussion.
Director DeBoer, I guess I would say every other month seems to make sense at this point, and if we get to the level where we need to have the monthly, we could also always do the special meeting, right, and call that if there's a decision that needs to be made, but it seems like we have a lot of legwork in front of us in these different subcommittees, so I don't know if we necessarily need to do monthly. Open to it if we need to, but it might be that we spend the time in the subcommittees, potentially reaching out to others to help pull information together if needed.
Anyone else? Vice Chair
This is
Lukeman.
Vice Chair Lukeman. I would agree with Director DeBoer. I think that we have a lot of work on the back side, and I would hate to come into a meeting in September and have only had ultimately one educational subcommittee meeting that is really like a very planning meeting. And so for what we have ahead, I don't feel confident being able to come into a September meeting with real actionable items to present.
So what I would say is I don't mind staying at every other month for meetings, but I would like to make sure that there is communication in regards to what's going on as far as the educational piece, making sure that meetings are being attended, and those, if times don't work out, or if the meetings become a problem or an issue, feel free to resign from a meeting and allow somebody else that may have the capacity to attend. But just wanted to make sure that we are using the time, even away from when we're having our meetings, wisely and trying to get as much accomplished as we can. So I think at this time, from what I'm hearing, we will stay at every other month. And we can revisit if there's information, like you said, Director DeBoer, that needs to be presented, or one in community engagement. We always have the ability to call a special meeting. At this time, we'll move to the next order of business, which is the update on the complaint log.
Hello, I will be doing an update on their civil rights complaint. I know I sent you a complaint log, but since I've sent that, we've had 2 additional complaints. So in total, we've had 12 civil rights complaints that the Office of DEI has received so far. Volume-wise, February, we had 1 complaint that we received. March, we received 2. May, we received 3. In June, we received 4. And in July, we received 2. the types of complaints we've gotten, and these are complaints that the complainant on their initial complaint will say housing or law enforcement or public accommodation. So housing-wise, we've received complaints that, 6 complaints related to housing, 3 complaints related to law enforcement, 2 related to public accommodation, and 1 related to a child support case. We have 2 pending complaints being reviewed, and those are the ones that are recently received, so they are still under review by our city attorneys to determine where they were referred to, if they fall under our ordinance. We have 1 complaint that's being currently reviewed by our city attorney, and that is against a local housing collective. When they initially sent in the complaint, there were a lot of descriptives missing, so it was a little back and forth getting information from the complainant themselves. So all that they've sent me via email have been forwarded to the our city attorney's office for their review. We had 3 complaints referred to the Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety, as all of the complaints were referred to or related to KDPS's officers. One was regarding, sorry, I'm trying to read my own summaries. That they were unlawfully stopped and profiled by a KDPS officer, which resulted in vehicle damage and emotional distress. Upon the city attorney's review, the matter fell outside of the scope of the ordinance, and the complainant was forwarded to go through the citizen complaint process and to follow up with their Michigan Department of Civil Rights complaint that they submitted at the same time that they submitted with our office. And then another complaint with KDPS was they reported excessive stomping in their apartment complex. That did not fall within the scope of the ordinance, so it was recommended that they contact KDPS, and of course, I sent them contact information to KDPS. Another KDPS referral was an ongoing harassment and identity misuse by that the complainant alleges. And based off the complaint, I believe this is the complainant filing against their child's father. The city attorney determined that that matter falls outside the ordinance and we advised the complainant to contact KDPS. And all that with the information to KDPS was sent to the complainant via email as well. We have 1 complaint that we referred to Michigan Department of Civil Rights, and that complaint was regarding the complainant stating that they were detained at county jail and alleges that they faced multiple assaults by officers and requested a review of the body cam footage. The city attorney's office found the matter fell outside the scope of ordinance and advised them to work with their own private attorney and to contact Michigan Department of Civil Rights. 1 complaint was referred to Community Planning and Economic Development, CPED, for the city of Kalamazoo. The complainant alleges that city staff entered their backyard without authorization, broke a fence, and removed valuable personnel belongings. And the city attorney's office determined that fell outside the scope of the ordinance, and they referred the complainant to reach out to Community Planning and Economic Development. And of course, the complainant was also informed. The other 4 complaints were a combination of several referrals, as one was regarding local organization providing them assistance with their house updates, which led to mold growth and serious health complications. And the complaint also alleges neglect and unprofessional behavior by those several organizations. The city attorney's office determined that fell outside the scope of the ordinance and referred them to state agencies to go to legal aid and to reach out to their home insurance. The second complaint was that this was regarding their child support office and how they were listed on a no-call list, and that the complainant stated their HIPAA was violated. We found that this fell outside the scope of the ordinance and referred the complainant to MDHS, legal aid, and the friend of the court, as that is where they initially had their complaint against. Our third complaint, that was kind of a combination, was they alleged that they were unfairly suspended and removed from Kalamazoo Public Library for using their computer inappropriately. She disputed the claim. She submitted a civil rights complaint, but our city attorney's office found that the matter fell outside of the city ordinance and referred her to reach out to the library's own complaint process through their HR department. And I also spoke personally with the complainant, and she's experiencing some houselessness, so I provided several local resources, legal aid, care collective, 211. The fourth complaint was regarding a Starcraft boat that was abandoned at a park. And the complaint requested that it be removed. The city attorney's office said that it fell outside the scope. And we did confirm and reach out to Parks and Recreation and also KDPS as it fell into the park. And the complainant was informed to reach out to Parks and Recreation and KDPS. And that is it.
Thank you all for those updates, and definitely appreciate being able to provide quite a bit of information to us as well as to the community, because that's kind of one of the questions and issues that have been coming up, just not being able to know exactly what's going on with the complaints. And so I do believe that community appreciates that. Thank you.
Of course.
Question
sorry.
real quick, Lal.
Yep.
When we receive these complaints and they go to the attorney, is that just how it's set up because they're submitting that complaint under a civil rights complaint, or do all complaints made to the city go to the attorney's office first?
All complaints received go to the city attorney's office for review.
All of the complaints?
All of them, correct.
Regardless of how they're submitted?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
This is Vice Chair Lukeman. I think for maybe just a little bit more clarity for Director DeBoer, there's on the city website, well, I don't know how all of these complaints come in, but it's specific to us making a civil rights complaint on the city website.
Correct.
Yes, yeah, so the individuals that submit the complaints are, assuming they're submitting them online, are clicking a button associated with civil rights
Correct.
complaints. Okay.
And I believe our physical form for people who come in does say civil rights complaint on the document as well.
Okay, so if I went on and I filed under a different complaint with the city, that complaint though still goes to the attorney's office first?
Correct.
Okay.
I receive it and then I refer it or forward it over to the civil city attorney's office.
I guess kind of like, what are some of the other complaints, like down trees, right? There's a little complaint log that you can go in and complain about the trees or say, hey, the trees are down. If someone goes into that and says, hey, there's a boat on this property that doesn't need to be here, does that get reviewed by the attorney's office? Do you know?
Yes. We review all complaints, even if the complaint may not be relevant to the city ordinance.
Like other departments do have that same process?
That I'm unsure of. I know there's different, public services has their own complaint process for certain services that they do, but when it comes to civil rights, if they submit it through our online portal or physical or whatever that may be, we still review it. City attorney still reviews it.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
This is Director Hewitt-Smith. Attorney Jones, could you come up to make sure that, get some clarification, please? Thank you.
Good evening. It's different being on this side than there. In response to your question, the complaints that come in for civil rights are particularly for civil rights, although they deal with a lot of different topics, as you've heard. I think that's where the Education Committee is going to be of value, because a lot of citizens don't realize what the ordinance does cover. If there's a downed tree or there's a sewer backup, there's another means to make those complaints. Those don't come to the Civil Rights Committee or the Civil Rights Board. If you have a sewer complaint, that goes through Public Services. If you have an issue with your trash, it goes through community planning and development. But oftentimes, people aren't aware of those different departments, and they will file a complaint through the Civil Rights Board.
Yeah, I guess that was kind of my question is, are the resources being used appropriately if an attorney is reviewing every time there's a complaint, and just because someone found the form and it said civil rights and they're complaining about the boat, right? I mean, I use that example because I think it's very clear that's not a civil rights issue in any way, shape, or form, right? Like that's not an issue. So why does that still have to go to the attorney's office to make that determination?
Because they have filled it out on the civil rights form.
Because, okay.
So we will review all of those. Again, that's why the education committee will be so important to the community, to let them realize what exactly the ordinance covers. And also, I'm hopeful that the education committee can inform citizens of the other avenues to make a complaint. If you have a complaint with public safety, they have an internal affairs department that you can go through. Again, if it's public services, if it's community planning and development, if it's a parks and recs issue, there are other avenues that are not covered by the ordinance, the Chapter 18 and 18A.
Okay. And then if they called like 311 directly and then explained the situation and said, okay, right, I have a boat on this property, they're going to direct them directly to like the parks
Yes.
coordination. And then if it was truly a civil rights issue that's covered, the 311 staff is trained enough to recognize those.
I'm not sure about the training of 311. I'm hopeful that they will. If in doubt, I'm sure if they mention something about their civil rights, that it will go to the department. Just caution that it will come, and then our office will review it. And as you can see, yes, the gentleman that had the issue with his boat clearly was not, did not fall within our chapter.
Okay. Thank you.
I think that leads me to the question of, and this is, are other departments receiving civil rights what should be civil rights complaints? And if they are, you know, we're doing great, you know, like we're directing it to other places. So are they being directed back to this, you know, our side? I think, and I recognize you might not be able to answer that question, but.
Yeah, this is Director Hill-Smith. I can't necessarily speak to the 311 call center, but I can say that they are not, they are very vigilant on making sure complaints land somewhere. So if there's something that speaks to civil rights or anything of a violation, I just don't foresee that department not doing the homework to figure out where it should land, if that makes sense. Like I said, I can't speak as wholeheartedly because I don't run that department, but I have interacted with them enough over the years to, it's very seldom that I have anything has popped up to where there was just a complaint just sitting out there, because they like to close their complaints. They like to close their case logs. So they're on all of us as directors. Hey, we sent this out. We haven't heard anything. So they're really vigilant on, as they receive complaints and calls, whoever they shot it to, whether it was touched or not, they're gonna circle back with us and be like, hey, it's still out there. Was that responsive?
I have one final question for Lo. I'm noting on the open complaint on our log is from 6/27/25.
Yep.
Are there two other complaints in July that aren't sitting on this log that was?
Yes.
Okay.
Those are the two newest that are still being reviewed by the city attorney's office. The one you saw is the one that was under review.
Got it. And then, so do they not hit this log until the city attorney's office reviews it? Or like,
No,
what's that process?
they just weren't received when I sent it out to the board. So, but I wanted to include them in my summary, so you will get it in your August complaint log updates.
Okay, thank you, La, I appreciate it. And I will say, we've probably only had this log since last week, so those couple have just been added. At this time, we will have public comments. If you have a comment, can you please sign in, and you will have 3 minutes.
Good evening, and my name is Maggie Adams. I do reside in the city, and I'm also a member of Isaac. And I'm also extremely excited to see a full board tonight, as well as the discussion tonight. The transparency is, it's heart, you know, it just fills my heart to see the board moving in that direction. But to the point, I do have some questions. So Director, or Vice Director, I'm not sure what the title is, Lukeman. You talked about a subcommittee that would be formed during this process mapping. Would this be involved then at the very beginning when they receive a complaint? So hopefully some of the discussion we have tonight would have some clear direction. I love that you're having the discussion period. But also, I know that Attorney Leal talked about that if you had a committee like that, you would need more training and education. So is that a possibility for this subcommittee to have a better understanding when a complaint comes in? Does it belong to this board or not, or where would you redirect it? The other thing I wanted to talk about is, although I am definitely involved, supporting the educational subcommittee or the outreach part, we lifted this once before, that the people who are affected by discrimination already know their truth. They're being harmed. So what exactly will the role of the educational subcommittee play? As Commissioner Coughlin once said a while back, folks are not coming forward because education does not address the systems that have systemic issues. It does not get to the root cause of biases held by individuals in positions of power. If the systems do not have policy or legal reforms in place, how does this help those that are being discriminated against? I'm just asking as you're thinking about your educational subcommittee that we're not focusing on just the individuals that are being harmed. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Evening. Welcome everybody who's brand new, especially all of us from Isaac are very pleased you're here and that you volunteered for subcommittees and you're ready to go on this important work. My name's Toby Hannah Davies, and I particularly want to thank you, Chair Faison, for talking about the new search for the city manager and how important the person chosen will be to the enforcement of the housing equity ordinance and to your work. And so I wanted to make sure that you all know about the new brief city survey that we are all being encouraged to fill out anytime now till August 24. All you have to do is go to www.kalamazoocity.org/city manager search. kalamazoocity.org/city manager search to get to the survey. You can also get the paper survey from the city office downstairs or any other city offices and at lunchtime lives and other city events between now and August 24. It's important for as many residents as possible to, I was going to say citizens, no, residents, to fill out this survey. It's about the qualities we want to find in a city manager. And the search is happening right now. You're all invited to come this coming Monday night, August 11th at 5 o'clock to the City Commission's Committee of the Whole, where there will be a presentation by the firm that the City Commission chose to do the search for the new city manager. Isaac was very happy with the choice that the City Commission made on the search firm, and we want you to hear Pamela Weidman, who's the senior manager of that firm, named Raftelis from Cincinnati, I think, doing this nationwide search. Come and if you can, 5 o'clock right here, and hear her presentation. But most important of all, fill out the survey, because you're the ones who are most in tune with the qualities needed that will help get our housing ordinance enforced, our housing equity ordinance enforced. I'm so glad you mentioned that, Chair Faison, because all of us here and everyone else.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I don't see anyone at this time. Lau, do we have anyone on the phone?
Turning on calls now.
Thank you.
We have no callers at the moment.
Okay, thank you. That will close us out for public comment. At this time, I will open it up for comments from the board.
I was just thinking that Director Lukeman talking about possibly changing the name of the board after listening to some of the complaints that came in. I think that that is something that we possibly or definitely should look at in maybe changing it to Human Rights Board or something like that, because I think that that is the confusion. And when, I know we're talking about doing the education piece, but I think that probably is the confusion for some of the people because, you know, civil rights, they just assume. So I think that that might be a good idea in changing, when we're talking about education, maybe changing the name, and maybe people will perceive that better, I guess.
Thank you. Director DeVore.
I just want to take a minute to say thank you to the nomination committee, board, and the city for allowing me to serve on this board. And I just look forward to continuing the work that this board has done and those that came before. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Director Sipling. It's so nice to see familiar faces as well as faces from Isaac here. I'm just very excited to begin doing this work. I believe that this is a part of what makes the beloved community the community. And so I'm very glad that there's the opportunity to be able to serve in this way. So I'm very excited. Please come say hi to me, come talk to me, looking to be involved as much as I can.
Thank you, Director Sipling. Any other comments?
I just want to say I'm very excited for the future. We all know that I was a little leery in the beginning because it just didn't seem like we had any type of momentum going forward, and excuse me, and then we just were spinning in, you know, a cycle, a never-ending cycle. So with a full board, I'm very excited about where this board can take the rest of the community and help the rest of the community that doesn't feel that their concerns are being addressed. I think we have the power and the capacity to do that and make sure that people in our community feel welcome, feel loved, and feel supported. So I'm very excited about the future of this community. So thank you and welcome again.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Burpee. Commissioner Hoffman.
Thank you, Chair. I want to say welcome to everyone. It is very delightful and encouraging that we have such a diverse board now with different identities that in those areas, you know, in the beginning, before everybody joined, we were very heavy in one direction, and to see all of us here today is just really encouraging and inspiring as to what we can do. I want to reiterate the importance of filling out the survey. We fought to get community input for the next city manager's appointment. It is important that not only the city residents, and I say residents intentionally because we have people in our community that are paying taxes, that are educating our children, that are also being wonderful residents of our county. And so it's not just about being a citizen. And so we need someone in that role who see human rights as a right. And so when I think about the city residents doing that survey, I also think about the people that come into our city who are also spending money, who are spending time here. So anyone that can hear our voices, please go on the city's website and state what you would like to see, because the next person in that role is going to orchestrate what we will see for decades to come. And it is very important that we have someone in that seat that lifts up anti-racism, equity, and human rights. And so it's not just because you're a city resident, but anyone within this county has the opportunity to have input into how we as a city will govern moving forward in the future. Shared prosperity should be for everyone, not just for some. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hoffman. Director Hewis-Smith.
I would like to say I do appreciate having a full board. As a director of this department, I'm thrilled to be able to work with all of you and along with the community. And I can say, as Chair Faison said, it's been a long time coming. I really believe in this board. I believe that you guys most definitely will make things happen. We are here to support. Lala and I are most definitely here to support you in whatever capacity that we are able to. It has been a rough road. I do not doubt that we probably will incur some more bumps in the road, but I can say that I've seen the evolution of the relationship of the City of Kalamazoo and this board. And thank you for that.
Thank you, Director Hewis-Smith. Okay, well, I will end it. I want to say, once again, welcome to Director DeBoer and Director Sipling. I'm going to echo, we have a full board, and it's been a long time coming. And so I also want to say to you, Director Burpee, I humbly appreciate you taking the time to stick around with us to see where it is that we can be. The fight that we have had has definitely been for the community and trying to solidify, because I always lift up that I do know that a lot of the community has not trusted or has not had faith in the Civil Rights Board. We have a full board, and now we have our different subcommittees. We have the ability to give them that and show them that they can have faith in what the Civil Rights Board can do. I'm gonna go into saying as well, I do believe discussion needs to continue around having a name change to make sure that we are truly representing the complaints that are coming in. But I also want to make sure that during the process of everything that we're doing, that we are empowering our community of putting in the complaints and making sure that their rights are acknowledged and upheld. So that goes back to systems being held accountable. We have to make sure that the community is educated on what the Civil Rights Board is capable of, where we can hold systems accountable. And I say that even when it comes down to the city, because I've watched the city grow and do things, even with the adoption of the Fair Housing Ordinance in 2020. We have to start implementing some of these things and making sure that we are truly walking in what we're talking about and standing intentional. And so, as a Civil Rights Board, I think we need to continue to hold individuals accountable and make sure the community know that we are here and we are truly fighting for them and they can trust the Civil Rights Board. And so, I will say at this time, I will end there. Everyone, have a good evening. And I will entertain Did you have a, okay, go ahead, Director Burke. Oh, you ready for that? Okay. I will entertain a motion to dismiss.
Adjournment.
All right. And all in favor? Aye. Aye. This meeting is adjourned. And I'm going to say 5:56 p.m.
Is it possible for us to take a picture of all
Yes.
Yes, it's possible, but I do, once we take the picture, I know this building belongs to the community, but out of respect for our security, he is asking that once we're done, we're done.
And he said you don't have to go home, but you got to get up out of here. Thank you all again, community. You're beautiful anyway. Stop that.
Is that okay?
Wait a minute, hold on. So,
Oh, wait, let's turn off my microphone.
say cheese. Wait a minute, hold on. You got me now, Caleb? This is my good side?
All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could you turn the mic off for me, please?